Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is going to be everything in bloom, not on the 8th, on whatever the hell it is today. 11th. So pretty late this time round, but so be it. It's still everything in bloom in July. So why am I starting outside? People made suggestions that made sense. I do a bit of gardening, not now, I have in the last few days or so, and I end up hurting my back and then aching for the next 2 or 3 days. Can you imagine the state I would be in just from dealing with that wisteria and taking down that bush to ground level and the one behind it, trimming all these things off? And it suddenly dawned on me that taking down that, the height of all of that, yeah, and once that wisteria is out of the way, there's an evergreen hedge behind that needs bringing down and taking back to the fence. Everything here needs pruning, and I'd be relying on Hannah for help. Is that fair? I know she likes a bit of gardening. Well, the sort of bit of gardening that she can get her teeth into is this lower down stuff, yeah, that you can get at. And it just dawned on me it would be so unfair for us to try and tackle this. So for this year, I'm just going to get somebody in. Get somebody in to just, I'll give them instructions, turn me back on it, and they can get on with it and get rid of all the rubbish and everything and just have that major session over and done with, leaving the smaller stuff and the more regular things, you know, in subsequent years for me and Hannah to get about. So that's the way it's going to be. I just can't see. I'm not as young as I used to be. It's as simple as that, and I hate to admit it, but I have to. Right, back to the point. Everything in bloom. I've left it a bit later in the day because it is quite warm in here. It's going to get even warmer with the fan off. Right, this is not going to be a long video because there isn't a huge amount. But what there is, I'd still like to film. And we'll start here. So what we're starting with is the Inca prints. I'll do pop-ups, otherwise I'm probably going to get the names wrong. Now this one's just gone over. This one's relatively new to opening, and this one's been open a while. And I'm hoping if I just move the camera gently, you get to see that purple sheen, which isn't a colour at all. It's hairs. It's purple hairs that catch the light. So that's that one. There isn't anything else. Oh, there's this, which is a deformed bloom. So we can't recognise that as typical of what that plant ought to produce. I can't see any blooms on the Restrepias at the moment. There could be some tucked in away in amongst the foliage, but there's nothing here, and there's nothing actually in bloom here apart from, strictly speaking, that bloom up there. I'm going to zoom in on it. I'm not going to attempt to get that. It's virtually touching the roof, and I think it's actually going over. I think the top sepal is actually bent over backwards now. So I think we'll class that one as past its best, polite version. So that's that, and then coming round here we've got things to come but nothing much out at the moment. The blooms on the Kaneko have started to go over. I'm just having a look round to see if there's any more clusters coming. I can't actually see any at the moment. It's having a bit of a break because this bloom's regular. And then we've got the Aphyllum blooms that shouldn't be here this time of year. It's just pushed out a couple of blooms as an oddity. This would normally be in bloom a lot earlier in the year, definitely. Now I probably won't be able to focus because everything's moving around, but the real colour is inside the lip. That lovely purple veining. So that's that one. And coming over here, I have noticed recently, although it's not orchids, virtually every one of my pinguiculars has got blooms on. They seem to be having a little flurry, having not done very much for some time. I mean, these are lovely little blooms. But then, you know, I've only got two sorts, which I split up earlier in the year. There is a video for that. First time I'd ever repotted them and split them up as a consequence. So I've got quite a lot round the place now. Another one up here just coming into bloom. Just opening up. Lovely deep purple, that one. Right, coming on round then, not much in this area apart from the zygo, which is it's still got a couple of buds to open, but not many. This will be open by tomorrow. That means all of those, and those, and a couple more on here that will be another 3 or 4 days. But that is, you know, for somebody who's killed a lot of zygos in the past, I'm pleased and relatively proud of that. It's not a good plant, but it's a fantastic blooming. Pretty good stuff, that. Then coming on round here to where I tend to cluster things together. What we've got here is the, let me just move that slightly. This has opened oddly. Let me just move the clock, the gadget. If you look at these blooms, they've opened oddly. They're distorted. They haven't opened properly. Now I don't know why. The plant actually seems to be growing really well. It's got 2 lovely new growths pushing on. This was a separated part when I repotted the plant. But, you know, that one's got a sensible lip. But the petals and sepals aren't in the right place. They're overlapping each other. So, it almost looks like there's no petals. So, no, it's not quite right, that one. Let's put my gadget back so that we can see that from the lounge. And then we've got this beastie that's opened up. And this is annoying because had that been what it says on there, that would be quite something. And it would be my only nobly type dendrobium that was based around orange rather than pinks and purples. But they're good sized blooms, and the oddity with this nobly type is when you get a cluster of buds like this, they all open together. There's no staggering. They all seem to just, you know, literally, they all opened up while I was away on Saturday at the Orchid Society meeting. Right, so coming round here, we've got things finishing that haven't quite finished yet. So I'm going to class those as finished now. They've lasted a lovely long time. And yet again, this was supposed to be Frosty Dawn Red Lip. Well, it's not. So a misnamed dendrobium yet again. So this one was misnamed, so was this one. There's a lot of it about, isn't there? But nonetheless, these have lasted well and they've been absolutely stunning. Lovely large blooms, good colour in the lip despite it not being what it's supposed to be. Excuse me. I've just noticed down here one of Derek's plants has pushed out 2 spikes. No doubt. No, that hasn't got a tag. Oh yes, it has. I know what that is. I know what it says it is, and it's not. It's going to be Sotoanum. It's not going to be what it says on the label. So that's misnamed as well. Then we've got my Miltoniopsis hybrid. Again, no ID. And this has still got more spikes coming. So this has done very well. I've already taken 2 spikes off. So this has done well. And very pleased with this. Nice velvety look and feel to the colours. Nice splash pattern. Good stuff. And then this little plant here, desperately trying to find a bloom that hasn't gone over. There's one. That is the only one left down here. And let's see if I can just move the that, then we might be able to get this to focus, because the detail on this is absolutely gorgeous, but you do have to get in quite close to see the patterning. And as a consequence of seeing the last one, you can see that these have gone. If I touch them, they fall off. Right, and then we've got the epidendrum, yes. And this has done something odd, because effectively it... Let me just have a look out there. What on earth is that? Don't normally get that sort of plane over here. I used to get them over the other house, but not here. So I was wondering what it was. Anyway, where did we get to? A lot of noise out there. So this one effectively finished blooming, and the blooms started to drop. Then it started to push some more buds out, so it's going to have a second flush of buds, which is absolutely brilliant. I wasn't expecting that at all. Right, then coming round here, we can see the very last of Hercoglossom. This really is the end now, as you can see, finishing off. It's been in bloom a good amount of time. It went to Malvern and back, and that upset it, as plants that go to Malvern usually do. Dumped half its blooms then. But, you know, if you think about how few blooms there are left, there's a little cluster there, this group here, a couple of odd ones here and there, it's still okay. It's still got fresh blooms on it. So it's still looking good. Can I zoom in on one? It's still looking good. Still looking good. So Hercoglossom, and then we've got Harveyannum is back with us again, and again this is going to silhouette. Let me see if I put my hand behind it, because the light is brighter outside than it is in here. So these are lovely blooms. These are a good deep daffodil yellow with a frilly lip and petals. Very, very attractive blooms. They're not large, but they're plenty large enough for the detail that's actually there. And then last but not least is the Friedrichianum. Well, I should say Friedrichianum Hanna. So I've just spotted dots on those blooms. On one of my plants this morning I found a few aphids. Now, I don't have aphids under normal circumstances, but this is different here because the door gets open and closed frequently, and occasionally the window as well, to drop the temperature down. So I'm opening up to the wilds out there, and it don't take much to let a few aphids in, you know, gently flowing on the airflow. Once they're in, they get settled on some blooms or some buds and they're away. So you keep your eye on those this time of year if you've got access to the outside world. Right, so yeah. There's birds whizzing around all over the place outside. They worry me that well, I've had several fly into the kitchen window. There's a lot of young birds around at the moment. There's 2 families of sparrows, so they've got 4 chicks each. You know, so that's sort of 10 of those whizzing around the place with the parents. There's a family of blue tits and a family of great tits. What else have we got? I've got a juvenile nuthatch that's visiting. Now, where the parents have gone, I don't know. They were here in sort of winter and very early spring. Then they went missing. But there is a youngster that's come, so maybe they're just busy elsewhere, who knows. But yeah, I've moved the feeders round so that the 3 that are most commonly used are now facing me. And in addition to that, the fat balls that basically go in the feeder round the back, what is now round the back, I'm not putting those out at the moment because they bring in the sparrows and the starlings at, oh, there's a chaffinch, at a ridiculous pace, and they you know, it just keeps those types of birds here, whereas those 2 types of birds have difficulty using the small feeders, so it gives the smaller birds a chance rather than being bashed out of the way by bully type starlings and families of sparrows that cluster and gang up, if you see what I mean. They're not doing it in a nasty way, it's just that they're you know, they're noisy birds, they flap around a lot, you know, they're a bit clumsy, especially the youngsters. So and the goldfinches are still visiting every now and again, but nowhere near as frequent as they used to. So yeah, I mean, if you look on the back of that chair out there, that's the male sparrow and one of the youngsters with its beak open. Bit hot, are we? Yeah. Yeah, so I've moved the feeders around so that 3 face me, and you know, I can see them when I'm working on the laptop, which is where I need to be now because this fan needs to go back on and it's very hot out here. The grow room out here, if this was the old grow room on a day like today when it's probably 27, 28 degrees C outside, yeah, the old grow room would now be over 30. It would be 31, 32, and all of that equipment would be running flat out all day long trying to keep it cool. And here, what have I got keeping it cool? 1 circulating fan. So my costs for the summer months have gone right down. Unfortunately, they're going to rocket in the winter. But yeah, we're somewhere about 26, 27 degrees at the moment. And this is, pardon me, the hottest point of the day. I'm watching the shadow on the sun because if you remember, it gradually crept up from there as the sun got higher in the sky, and it stopped at that central point, which is why I only needed the shade netting on that bit. And now, for the sun to be up against that rail, half of it's already gone. So, you know, longest day was 21st of June, and we're a few weeks on from that now. Add the same number of weeks on again, and this shadow's going to start creeping down again, you know, to the point where the sun won't hit that roof so much, and then I won't have quite such warm temperatures. I'd like it to stay about 25, 26. That would be nice. With the humidity and the circulating fan, that's a comfy growing environment for most of the orchids. Now, okay, there's a few of the cooler growers would prefer to come down to sort of 20, 21, but then there's some where in their growing season that's a bit too cool. Things like the cattleyas, that's a bit too cool for them to do well as a daytime temperature. So, yeah. And for Gale, specifically, so far on the buddleia bush, I've only seen 1 butterfly. However, there are butterflies in the garden. Today, I've had a painted lady, a comma, a couple of whites, and a holly blue. And a comma. Did I say comma? Comma, painted lady, couple of whites, holly blue. But only one of them actually landed on the buddleia. So I'm not so sure the white one's going to be as good for the butterflies. It's attractive and it's going to make a nice spectacle. And I think for the butterflies I need to aim to, once this heat's gone, I'm not going out shopping in this. I don't even want to open the car, let alone get in it. But yes, I think I'll be looking for a purple one, specifically for the butterflies, and the combination of the two. I think if they were attracted to the purple one, they would then go on the white one as well. I just don't think they see that as a thing to visit as much as they would the purple one. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you know, it's only just been planted out, so we'll have to see how we go. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.